So I've come to interview Romany Mark Bruce, who's going to tell us all about his AIDS memorial statue. So how did this all come about?
In about 2005, Paul Elgood, who's a local councillor, came up with the idea of having a memorial for those who have died of AIDS in Brighton, because many people had, and also to remember those who have been affected by the disease.
And how were you approached?
I was approached in the street 2 years ago by James Ledward, the editor of G-Scene, who asked me to put in a proposal, and I have to confess I didn't know anything about it. I hadn't read the press, and I didn't know that the competition was going on.
And so, so what was your idea then? What did you come up with?
My immediate thought was that I didn't want it to be a depressing memorial. And although it's a memorial to those who have died, it's also those who are living with HIV. So I wanted it to be something to be positive. And I've done a lot of work with HIV charities. And so I know of all the developments in medicines. And although it's still a serious issue, and not good, lots of developments have been made which are very positive. So I wanted it to be a positive piece that would be uplifting rather than sad and depressing.
Because when it first came on the scene, AIDS, it was like, you know, the end of the world is nigh, isn't it? And you don't hear so much about it anymore. Is that because of the development?
You don't hear so much now because the problems have changed, but the problems are still as great. They're just of a different type. So people may not necessarily be dying quickly. They may be living longer with much more problems. So the issues are still as serious, they're just different. So that's why it's important that we don't forget it, and we have a memorial that will raise awareness.
So the memorial is honouring those who've already died and honouring those who are living with it today.
That's correct, those people who have been affected by HIV and AIDS.
Brilliant. So you put in your proposal, it was accepted. Was there a big budget for it? Did they hope to be really paid to do this, or? No,
I haven't accepted any payment. I never wanted to. The more money that goes into the sculpture, the better finished the sculpture would be. So I always wanted any money to go into the memorial itself. I was asked to put forward a budget, which at the time is quite difficult. It's difficult to predict how much things will cost. But I put in a proposal with a budget and set it out and proposal where it would be, and that was accepted. Brilliant.
So what is your idea then?
My idea is the sculpture is two figures, soaring figures. They're very elongated. So they bottom part, if you like, the legs are very long, and they twist around and they touch. Well, they only touch very briefly because it represents two people whose lives have crossed, but they're facing away from each other because they may not know each other. They may never have known each other's names, the nature of the disease. They may never meet again. So they touch very, very briefly. They're soaring figures. One is very obviously male, and the other one is ambiguous, androgynous. And that's where some of the criticism for the memorials come in against me, that it appears to represent two men. And my view is, one, I'm quite happy for people to discuss it and criticise it. In Brighton, the issue does affect gay men more than anyone else, but obviously the HIV and AIDS affects more than gay men. So the two figures do represent the two sexes. One's ambiguous and androgynous. So, and I hope that'll make people think about it, rather than being too acceptable.
And what kind of a journey has it been for you?
I've never made a sculpture as large as that before. In my little mind, I thought that 3 months would do it. It's the very first time I've had a plan of what I'm going to sculpt. Usually it just happens. So I thought 3 months, and boy was I wrong. It took nearly a year. Wow. You build an armature, steel armature, because the clay will just slip down if you don't have something to hold it. So me and a friend built an armature. I worked on it for 3 months, and then the whole thing collapsed.
No.
With me under it. I was doing well. It was coming on, and suddenly I was aware that something was happening. So I put my hands up with the sculpture, which is shaped like this, and realised that it was giving. So I immediately thought that I would hold it up and call for help, but it was in a car shed in the middle of the country. There's nobody around, and also it was half a ton of clay. So then I thought, it all went in slow motion, so yes. What do I do now? So I looked for the dogs, they were away, and I was thinking, which way shall I run? Because if it gets me, it's going to hurt. So I decided that it's best not to run. So I went like that, and the whole thing fell around me in a Buster Keaton fashion. So I started again.
Wow. And
Which was
why
quite
had it
funny.
broken? Why did it break? Because it was too
The
much
weight
clay
of
on
the
the
clay,
steel.
because the two figures twist quite a
Right.
lot, the weight of the clay, the centre of gravity was very high, and the weight of the clay just collapsed. And we hadn't built it strong enough, and we didn't know. So then I had to get another frame welded by a professional welder out of scaffolding poles, so that it was very, very strong, and start again.
There's been a lot of controversy around this issue. Has it bothered you at all?
No, I think it's all for the good. I don't expect everyone to like my work. I don't expect everybody to support public art, and a lot of people don't support it. And maybe in this time of recession, quite rightly so. And there has also been controversy because people feel that this is money that's come away from HIV care. And I would be opposed to that. If that was the case, I'd be opposed to the sculpture, but it's not. It's private funding. None of it is public funding.
Right.
And I don't believe any of it has come from HIV care. And I think what it will do is it will promote HIV awareness, and then hopefully people will contribute at a greater level to HIV charities. So hopefully it will benefit those. But yes, there have been a lot of people speaking out against it, and that's good that they do. If they don't support it, they should speak out about it.
At least keep it in the news all the time.
Well, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the more people that know about it, the more people will be aware of the cause.
Because I think certainly in the heterosexual world, it's sort of almost been forgotten, AIDS, as you know, or seen as nothing to do with us.
I think a lot of people think it's got nothing to do with them, and through the HIV charity that I'm involved with, it by no means are most of our clients gay men from Brighton. They're mothers, family members, children, all sorts of people from different parts of the country.
Wow. So where are we now then? Today? What's happening today?
The bronze has been cast, but it's in 3 parts. They cast it in several parts, and this coming Thursday I'll be travelling to the foundry in Essex, and they will weld it together. And I have to be there to make sure that they weld it in the right order, otherwise it might look like 2 bananas.
I might have to start again.
I might have to start again, yeah. And then a couple of weeks after that, I'll go back to the foundry. They'll have cleaned it all up and mended the seams, and then we'll have the patination, which is they will apply acids,
Right.
and they can make a bronze almost any colour you want. So I can have a bit more red, a bit more green, a bit more blue, or whatever.
Do you have any idea how you're going to have it?
I do, because it's very near the sea, it's going to oxidise quickly.
Yeah.
And I do have this vision of people stopping in the street telling me it's going off. So I want it to be a bit green in the beginning.
Yeah.
So it's going to be green with quite brassy bronze highlights,
Yeah.
because it's quite a sunny place. Then it will be brought down to Brighton on the back of a flatbed truck and craned into place, which I think is the most exciting part.
Yeah.
And then hopefully it will be covered for the reveal on the 9th of October. And I understand that a local HIV charity wants to make a cover for it, which will then be used as part of the AIDS Club in Brighton.
Right.
So that is the plan.
And the idea is that anyone can come to the statue and use it for their own purposes, like, you know, to remember someone who died,
Yes.
or to keep. And will you have sort of events around the statue later on? And because it's an ongoing thing.
It is an
isn't it?
ongoing thing. There'll be an ongoing memorial fund to help HIV charities. I think the purpose of it will be to have a focal point particularly for World AIDS Day. But yes, for anyone to come along and remember someone they've known to have died, or if they're affected. And I've had lovely emails from people I've never met so far thanking me for being part of this. And I'm only part of it. It's a community project, and I just happen to have done one part of it. Thanking me for enabling them to have somewhere to come to. And my best friend died in '92, and there's never been anywhere to go to remember him. So that's what's driven me.
Oh, but a true labour of love.
Very much so, yes. And it will be called Tay. It'll be called after Paul.
That was his son. Tay, T-A-Y.
Yes, T-A-Y, yes.
Okay.